Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Raven Maureen, and today I want to share with you my honest thoughts about the Gunne Sax pattern and simplicity pattern 3213. I just sewed her up and finished her about a few weeks ago, and I have a lot of really wonderful thoughts about this pattern and just Gunne Sax in general. So let's go ahead and hop into it. So real quick, if you're not familiar with Gunne Sax, and don't be shy, don't be worried. I wasn't either until I actually really started sewing this dress and doing my research. So excuse me while I nerd out for a little bit. But for those of you who aren't familiar with Gunne Sax, it is a style of dress that was pretty much created in like the 70s, I believe. And it's kind of reminiscent of that prairie style, romantic style. There's a lot of Edwardian and Victorian themes with higher necks and different types of sleeves and things like that. And so it was something that was created, or it was a dress style that was created. And the words or the phrase Gunne Sax is a play on of the potato sacks, like that you would kind of use, I guess, in a way to make dresses or to make these dresses. And so I say all that to say, like, I had never heard of Gunne Sax, but I was familiar with the type of dress. And honestly, it was the type of dress that when I think about the 70s, I would see a lot of women in old photos wearing these dresses. And I just thought it was like hippie dress or boho or whatever. And it is kind of boho style, but to put a name to that style after all of these years, is something that I am just like about. So I say all that to say, like, I honestly feel like, I never stop learning when it comes to sewing. And I hope that you guys do not think that I am, how do I want to say this? I don't know everything about everything, right? And you don't know what you don't know. And so I feel like although this isn't something I would have typically made or typically even looked at, it was something that I learned to appreciate, and something that I instantly, not necessarily related to, but I was like, I get it. I get who this girl was, and why people are drawn to her today, especially with the 2021 and 2022 like burst of cottagecore. Like, I get the resurgence, I get the romantic feelings of it. And I I'm kind of ashamed to say that I didn't know a lot about it, but I'm glad that I did the research. I'm glad that I made my dress, and I am really excited to say that I want to make more. So let's jump into the simplicity pattern 3213, which is this one right here. The envelope's a little bent out of shape, but it's because I was working hard, y'all. I was sewing. um, so 3213, I made view 3, which is the maxi with the maxi sleeves. You have view 1, which has the elbow length sleeves, and it's kind of like a T-length here. You have view 2 that's got the sheer sleeves, and then it's still T-length, and then you've got view 3 with the maxi and then the bottom ruffle. One thing across all 3 of these views, they all have like a lot of ribbon and lace trim. And I was honestly, in a very weird way, I was not intimidated by that. I was excited to do that. I wasn't like intimidated by all the lace and everything like that, but it honestly made me think back to like, okay, maybe back in the 70s, or back when like there wasn't really like a traditional fabric store, and if you were going for that boho vibe and you were looking for possible scraps or trying to find different trims, like I can see how this would really just play up. Like I'm so into it. I am converted, I guess you can say. But I had to do it the 2026 way, and I bought like a variety pack of trim off Amazon. And no, it is not a romantic way of finding trim and ribbon and things. I wish that I can go to a haberdashery store and get all those things. I had to go on Amazon, and it is what it is, you know what I mean? But I found this trim variety pack on Amazon. It has like 8 different sizes. And I think what I like about this pattern, and it makes so much sense because it's all about romanticism and whimsy and things like that. They didn't pigeonhole what type of trim to use. They didn't pigeonhole what size to use. They made suggestions in the pattern that says like you can do this or that, or you know, they kind of said put your ribbon here or you can put it here. And I really appreciated that because I feel like sometimes I can get caught up in like the minutia, the details of things, and I want to be exact and I want it to be precise, and I can like think too hard about things sometimes. And this, the instructions in it, like I'll show y'all. The instructions in it didn't make me feel like things were being overcomplicated. It honestly, it really just was like, hey, do what you feel. Yeah, it's like pin 4 rows of ribbon to bodice front. Doesn't say you need a 5/8 trim ribbon. Doesn't say you need a 3/8 trim. It says it in the notions on the back of the envelope, but it's not being like overly picky. Then it says pin wide lace trim to neck edge. Again, it's not saying you need this size or anything like that. I think it really honestly is what you make it. One thing with my dress, I actually forgot to, I made the panel for the buttons and then I forgot to put the buttons on. But also I didn't feel like that was something that I did wrong either. Like when I left it off, I was like, I think that like the Gunne Sax ladies of yesteryear would be okay with that if I left it off. I think they would be okay with that. Oh, let me go back to more notions. So it does say like you need a 22-inch zipper. You need 9 3/8 buttons, 9 buttons that are 3/8 inch wide. I definitely forgot those, like I just said. You need 5/8 lace. You need 3/8 ribbon. It's just a lot of ribbon and lace. But again, even though it has it measured out here, as far as like the width that they're looking for, the suggested width and things like that, I didn't feel obligated to do that. I really didn't. And I did like that with the trim that I got, the different lace and trim that I got. Some of it was Swiss dot, some of it had the netting. It was different things so that it could feel like an heirloom or heritage. And I'll link that down below for you guys because I thought that was really helpful. And it really just, I mean, it just washed away any sort of anxiety that I had about finding notions. Like when I found the variety pack of lace and ribbon, like I was like, I'm not overthinking this. I'm just gonna get it, and that's it. And when I tell you, it was probably like the most liberating feeling to find that and to just go with it and not feel bad about it. Like I feel bad that I had to find it on Amazon, but the fact that it was available, I'm okay with that. Suggested fabrics: broadcloth, calico, challis, chambray, cotton types, silk types. View 2 for the contrasting sleeves, organza or voile. It does say that it is not suitable for obvious diagonals. The fabric that I bought is from Mood. It's a cotton poplin, and I bought 8 yards of this. So view 3 takes the most yardage up, going all the way up to like 8.5 yards if you're working with 45-inch fabric. I did buy a little bit more because I was like, I may make a mistake. View 2, anywhere between 3.5 and 4.5 yards. I would just say 5 yards of fabric. View 1, about 6 yards of fabric. So this is a dress that is going to take up a lot of fabric for sure. All right, let's talk about sizing. So I cut out, I believe it was a size, I cut out a size 20. Oh no, I cut out a size 22. My bad. All right, that kind of makes a lot more sense. Um, so I cut out a size 22. I probably could have did an 18 or a 20. Why did I cut the 22? Oh, I'm realizing in real time. I cut the 22 because of my waist. But I still could have did the 20. I must have been really worried about the sizing. Because I did take it in like about maybe like an inch on each side once I sewed it up. But yeah, I probably could have done the 18 or the 20, but I cut the 22. Oh well, it's okay. I would definitely make this again, and I would probably err on the side of the 18 or the 20. Just because I felt like I did take a good bit on each side. Not so much where it compromised like how the dress looked, but I underestimated how much fabric I used versus what that would look like on someone with my proportions and my frame. And like, because I used a lot of fabric and because I had view 3, which was the maxi, a lot of my body was covered. So I had to like put on my tallest heels and like pretty much stand tall, more or less, in order to feel like the dress didn't swallow me. I think next time I would probably size down, and I would probably do the elbow length sleeve with the maxi, because again, I feel like I was extremely covered up. And even though it's romantic, and don't get me wrong, I love my dress. Like I genuinely love my dress. And I'll get into more about where I was going with my design aesthetic and stuff like that. I think I was kind of covered up. I was very modest, I think, for for what I normally do. And so I think I would do like the elbow length sleeve here, and then still do the longer dress. Like, I think this length and this length sleeve for a modern Gunne Sax revisioning would probably be better than going full long sleeve long dress. That's just me though. So going back to my vision and my fabric, I picked out the fabric from Mood. The reason why I went with Mood fabric, for a number of reasons. One, they actually have a very wide collection of fabric. So I did like a huge deep dive, and I spent like 4 or 5 or 6 hours like looking for fabric, and I knew that I wanted it to be dark. I knew I wanted it to be moody and kind of like almost like a gothic romantic feel. And they, in their Mood exclusives, in those collections, they have a lot of moody fabrics. So I was going back and forth. I had stuff in my cart and I was taking it out, putting it back in. But Mood, because they have a huge volume of fabric, or a huge volume of collections, not only was I able to play with different prints, but I could see how much yardage was in stock, and a lot of it would be like 100 yards, 130 yards. So at no point did I feel threatened or rushed to make a decision about my fabric, even though I was on a deadline. But I knew that like if I underbought, or if I didn't buy enough, or whatever, that I could go back and get more. Thankfully, I bought enough on the first time so I wouldn't have to go back and buy more. But I wanted that safety net to be there. But it is a black cotton poplin, and I did pre-wash it, and it's a little faded, but I actually don't hate that because the lace is so pitch black, and then the cotton poplin is a little faded. I think it adds to the whole Gunne Sax vibe in the universe, because it is like a little bit kind of, how can I say, it is dark, but it also looks again like perhaps it's more boho, or more like pieced together in a way, I guess you could say. So when it faded a little bit in the wash, that didn't discourage me. That didn't really upset me. in normal circumstances, it probably would, but this time it really didn't. Again, I was just really, really excited to jump into this. This pattern was nothing like I have ever made before. And I think that I also have a inner boho child in a lot of ways. I love, you know, romantic things, prairie stuff. I like that boho vibe. It doesn't always translate well for me, like on me, but I do appreciate that style and that aesthetic. And so I did buy a couple of more Gunne Sax patterns. I have one that's on the way. I'll put a picture up of what that one is. And then I also have this one. I really loved how Martha Moore and I think her name is Catherine Holbrook. I really loved their versions of this blouse and the skirt. And so I want to take a chance on at least the top. I like the blouse. I like the frilliness of it. I think it's really pretty. And so just take a stab at it, I guess you could say. But I am excited to explore more Gunne. That doesn't mean I'm, you know, totally abandoning like my normal aesthetic, but I think that there's like a place for her in my wardrobe. So I say all that to say, like, you know, if you guys have been hesitant about the Gunne Sax patterns, I did put together like a Pinterest mood board of just some different dresses and ways that it can be done, and it really helped me to visualize it in like a modern world. And you know, when the summer comes and you know I want to use my 15 yards of fabric for something, I might choose Gunne again, to be honest with you. I, like I said, I really enjoyed it. And I know that some people out there have probably been waiting a very long time for these patterns to come back around. And I've heard that there's been a lot of, I guess you can say, eBay and Etsy fighting over the originals of these patterns, but I can see why. These patterns are so darling, and I really enjoyed myself with these patterns and sewing them up and whatnot. I understand it may not be everybody's taste, it may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I do like this style in some ways. And so I hope you guys find time in your sewing journey to give these patterns a try, if you haven't already, or to revisit them if you've done them before. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. I will see you guys next time. Bye.